Max Verstappen ruled Formula One with a level of control we rarely see in modern motorsport. For years, every race weekend followed the same pattern: Friday dominance, Saturday precision, Sunday inevitability. He didn't just win, he suffocated the competition. He turned races into demonstrations of efficiency. But 2026 is not a continuation of the current era. It is a reset, a structural. And while Verstappen is unquestionably one of the most talented drivers of his generation, the question isn't talent, it's exposure. We have rarely seen him operate in machinery that is clearly second or third best across an entire regulation cycle. In earlier seasons, when Red Bull was not dominant, he was aggressive, sometimes over-aggressive. He compensated with risk. But sustained championship campaigns under technical deficit require patience. They require political calm. They require accepting second place when necessary. 2026 might force that evolution. The new power unit regulations increase electrical output significantly. Energy recovery systems become central to lap time. That introduces strategic layers mid-race we haven't seen before. Drivers may deploy differently based on opponent proximity. Overtakes could depend more on software calibration than raw slipstream. That shifts the advantage slightly toward teams with superior systems integration. And this is where the uncertainty begins. Red Bull built its recent success on aerodynamic brilliance. But 2026 equalizes aerodynamic freedom and amplifies power unit performance gaps. If Red Bull executes perfectly, Verstappen remains lethal. If they miscalculate even marginally, the advantage evaporates. And unlike minor aero deficits, power unit deficits are harder to mask. You cannot outdrive an energy shortfall over an entire season. Now imagine a grid where Ferrari nails combustion efficiency under sustainable fuels. Imagine Mercedes mastering battery deployment windows. Imagine McLaren optimizing active aero transitions for qualifying peaks. Suddenly the margins compress, and when margins compress, psychological pressure expands. Verstappen thrives on control. Control of race pace, control of rivals, control of narrative. When he leads comfortably, he manages calmly. But when he must defend repeatedly, his driving style sharpens into aggression. That aggression is devastating when calculated. It becomes costly when reactive. 2026 may create more defensive scenarios, more late-breaking duels, more strategic undercuts, more marginal steward decisions. The championship could hinge on 5-point swings instead of dominant streaks. And in tight championships, emotional discipline matters more than raw pace. Consider the competitive landscape entering 2026. Lando Norris has matured into a complete driver capable of leading title fights. Charles Leclerc has refined his race management under pressure. George Russell operates with clinical calculation in wheel-to-wheel battles. Lewis Hamilton enters potentially his final era chasing legacy. This grid is no longer intimidated by Verstappen. They have raced him for years. They understand his positioning tactics. They anticipate his defensive lines. The psychological edge he once wielded has narrowed. So if machinery equalizes, the fight becomes strategic rather than overwhelming. The new active aerodynamic systems add another unpredictable element. Adjustable aero balance on straights versus corners changes car behavior dynamically. Drivers must recalibrate braking references mid-lap depending on aero mode. That increases cognitive load. It demands adaptability every single lap. There is also a team dynamic layer. Dominant eras create internal stability. Engineers operate confidently. Strategy departments execute decisively. But when dominance fades, doubt creeps into decision-making. Strategy calls become conservative. Risk tolerance shifts. Red Bull's confidence machine has operated flawlessly in recent seasons. 2026 tests whether that machine functions equally well under pressure. Regulation resets attract manufacturer attention. Audi enters aggressively. Development races accelerate. In such climates, drivers become technical anchors. The driver who adapts quickest shapes development direction early. Early direction defines mid-season upgrades. The first 6 races of 2026 may matter more than the final 6. Now imagine Red Bull begins slightly behind. Verstappen qualifies third instead of first. Overtakes become strategic chess rather than brute force. Championship points become damage limitation exercises. That environment exposes emotional endurance. Sustained second-place finishes require maturity equal to sustained victories. Can Verstappen recalibrate ambition into patience across 24 races? History suggests elite champions can, and adversity often refines greatness. So here is the prediction. Max Verstappen does not collapse in 2026, but he no longer operates in comfort. He operates in combat. Victories become harder, margins tighter, pressure heavier. And under heavier pressure, true legacies are forged. 2026 is not the end of Verstappen's dominance. It is the test that defines whether he becomes an era champion or a generational legend. Next episode, Lewis Hamilton in 2026. Redemption or goodbye? So here's where it gets interesting. Because 2026 is not just about regulations. It's not just about engines. It's not just about aerodynamics. It's about identity. Max Verstappen has spent years proving he can dominate when the system works in his favor. But every great champion eventually faces the same moment. The moment where the rules change. The moment where comfort disappears. The moment where reputation is no longer enough. 2026 is that moment. And here's the real question I want you to think about. If Red Bull starts the season second fastest, does Verstappen still win the championship? If Ferrari unlocks the best power unit, can he outdrive a deficit across 24 races? If Mercedes finally nails energy deployment, does he stay calm under relentless pressure? I want you to answer honestly in the comments. Not as a fan. As an analyst, does Max Verstappen win the 2026 championship? Yes or no? And don't just say yes or no. Tell me why. Is it adaptability? Mental strength? Technical feedback? Or is Red Bull's era about to end? Because this series isn't about hype. It's about prediction. Over the next episodes, we're breaking down every major driver facing the 2026 reset. Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, George Russell. And one of them has more pressure than anyone else on this grid. If Verstappen survives 2026, his legacy expands. If he struggles, the power balance of Formula One changes overnight. So here's your second question. If Verstappen doesn't win in 2026, who does? Hamilton for legacy? Leclerc for redemption? Norris for breakthrough? Russell for the silent takeover? Comment your champion prediction below. I'll pin the most detailed answer. And in 1 year, we come back to this video and see who called it. Next episode, we examine the most emotional storyline of the new era. A 7-time world champion chasing one final shot at immortality. Lewis Hamilton in 2026. Redemption or goodbye? Subscribe so you don't miss it. The reset is coming, and the grid decides everything.